In this video, we'll see how we can read from keyboard using C++ programming language. I have made some programs, so let's start with those programs one by one. So here on the right hand side, right pane, you will find that I have written a small program. So this is a standard way of hash including iStream, and then I have declared here three variables. One is of type integer I, another of type float, real numbers, and third one is to store character strings. Okay, now let me check how this program behaves. So on the left hand side, let me execute the program. So here it is waiting for me to type in something. See in. So this is known as extraction operator. It is just the reverse of cout, the operator used with cout. There we call it insertion operator, and cin is an object of class iStream that we'll discuss in details in some other video. So cin is used in this manner to read from keyboard the value of any variable. Okay, so here it is waiting for me to type in something. Okay, now if I type some integer, maybe suppose 10, it prints the value 10. Similarly, okay, next statement here, by mistake I have put two semicolons. There should have been only one, but since it is a empty statement with a statement terminator, so there should not be any problem. There will be no problem at all. Okay, otherwise there should have been only one semicolon. So here I am supposed to type in some real number. Okay, so on the left hand side, let me type something, maybe 4.3. 4.3 prints corresponding to this cout. This cout. Okay, now the next one is a character array with a name. So here we need to write the name of the character array. It will print the same string. So this is the way we can print and use the endl to make it behave just like a new line character. Okay, so if I type maybe ABCD, it prints the value of the character string. Okay, so now let me show you some other example, maybe 2.cpp. Okay, here I have another example. Here what I'm trying to do is reading two variables with the same cin, single. So more than one values you can read in from keyboard. Okay, it is not necessary that I and j must be of same type. They can be of different types, but the values which we type at the keyboard must follow the sequence. Okay, so here let me execute the corresponding program. Now here see the beauty. I can write 4 space 5 in one go, it prints. Okay, now again if I run and if I type 4 and then tab key and then 5, then also it reads. Now if I rerun it, 4 followed by enter followed by 5, then also it reads both of them. What does it mean? So if you want to read more than one values from the keyboard in same single statement, then all values to be supplied must be delimited by either a space or a tab or a new line character. These three taken together are referred to as white space character. Perhaps in old days, usually monitor screen used to be white in color and cursor used to be black, which is something like this my computer's screen which I'm recording on. And that is why if you press tab key or space bar or enter key, you will see effect of some black white space. That could be one of the reasons. I'm just guessing. Okay, so you can separate the values to be typed in by making use of space or tab or new line. It does not matter. Now let me have another example. Okay, and now let me execute the corresponding program. Now here what has happened is I have declared two integer variables and I am attempting to read them one by one and printing their value respectively. Okay, now what is happening? It should wait for me for I. When I supply the value of I, then it should go for it should print its value and then go to next statement. But what would happen here? Now suppose I type 4.3 instead of supplying an integer, I'm supplying a floating point number. What does happen? It does not wait for me to type in the second value of the integer corresponding to j. Usually, or in C++ programming language like C, every device is associated with a device file and there is a buffer associated with it. So whatever you type at the keyboard, it goes to that buffer associated with that file. So standard input device file is the keyboard. In C++, the standard output device file is the monitor. So what happens is that buffer is cleared if the type of the value provided is same as type of the value expected. Otherwise, it does not clear the buffer. And if the buffer is not empty, then the system thinks that you have already typed something. So it assumes that you have already supplied value in response to Cin, and that is why it is not stopping. 4.3 is real number, but first digit 4 is an integer. So it satisfies the requirement and the value is assigned to variable I. But what would happen to j? That is not defined. So don't trust the value of j here. It can be anything. Next time it can be anything, or under other compiler implementation of for C++, the value can be something else. So it is random. Okay. So this is what I wanted to emphasize, that if you do not supply the expected type of the variable, then the output is not trustworthy. Okay, now let me have another example. Or rather what we can do is I can rerun this. I can rerun this and supply 0.3 one more time. What has happened here? It has taken some arbitrary value for I also and for j also. This time it has taken the value of I as 0 and some random value for j. So I repeat, if the expected type and provided type they do not match, results are random, cannot be relied upon. Now let me have another program example. Here let me execute for. Now what is happening here? I am trying to declare two. I have declared two floating point numbers, and here also I have intentionally, this time I have intentionally put the semicolon. What does it mean? It means no statement, but the statement terminates here, so no effect. So this is expected to read one floating point number, output its value, then read second floating point number and output its value. Okay, now let us see what does it do. So I will supply, maybe you can say 3 instead of floating point number, 3 and then 5.2. It takes it. So what do I want to say here? Instead of typing a real number, I have typed integer. But remember, all integers are real numbers or floating point numbers also. So whether you supply floating point number, real number or integer, it is correct if the variable declared is of type float. Okay, it is not essential that you need to supply 3.0 or some decimal, some digit after decimal point. Okay, and if I rerun this and supply a value 5.2, I had already supplied, so need not to repeat the example. I will just, okay, I just want to show you another example, which is 5, and let me execute this as well. What is expected here? I have declared one integer, one floating point variable f1. So here I am expecting an integer, and then here I am expecting a floating point number. Okay, so now let's see what does it do. So I will supply maybe 4.5. Now here it is not giving the arbitrary values. In the sense, in response to integer, I type 4.5. So it takes 4, it matches the integer type. So it assigns that value to I, and remaining 0.5, it is a legal real number. Okay, so it does not wait for me to type in the value for second variable, which is floating point variable, and it assigns 0.5 to it. So here in this case, the values are not random. We can always determine by the value typed in. 4.5, 4 is integer part is assigned to integer variable, and 0.5 is floating point number, it is assigned to another variable. Now one more example I have already made for you, and let me execute it. What is expected here? Here I have declared two integer variables and reading one integer to second integer variable I have assigned value 66. Now here in cout you can pay attention. You should pay attention. I am trying to output this as %c. Okay. Now %c is for character variable. Okay. %c I have used from printf itself. Let us check what does it do. Okay. So I will supply 65. Okay. And see what does it do. It prints %c. Because in case of C programming, you can provide such kinds of formatting, but it is illegal. I mean, it's of no use in C++. If you have watched my video on a C language for corresponding topic, you would have observed that I have used this %c so that this can be printed as characters. But providing such kinds of formatting is illegal. Illegal in the sense they are treated just like a string. So it has printed the same string you can see here, 65, 66. So no effect. Next one is a name, a character array. So I would read a name here and print it. See what happens. In response to this, let me type maybe ABCD space EFG. When I press enter, it has printed only ABCD. Okay, it has ignored EFG. So actually it breaks the input in at the delimiter. And what are the delimiters? Space, tab, and new line as far as strings are concerned. So if you want to read a string using cin into an array of characters, then if there is no space, no tab, no new line, then everything would be read in. Otherwise, it will read up to but excluding the first white space character. So one has to keep it in mind. Okay, so what we have seen in this video, how we can read from the keyboard. And that is all in this video. Thanks for watching.